F1 circus rolls into the fourth round of the season, all of the talk was coming with regards to Renault and their power unit. Renault's engine has come under fire from rivals of teams have now been discussing whether this engine that Renault has got in the back of their car is in fact legal or not. In the first 3 races of the season, Renault have picked up 3 podiums, with a podium at the Chinese Grand Prix with Pierre Gasly, a podium at the Japanese Grand Prix thanks to Tom, and at the last race in Singapore, Tom actually managing to win that Singapore Grand Prix quite comfortably. Now, Renault have come out and immediately denied all claims with regards to their engine, stating that they have simply just got a better engine than everybody else, and all of the other teams, rather than trying to find a way to beat them, just want to cry about it. But that's not what Red Bull and Porsche are up to. They're actually considering a protest over the legality of Renault's engine. They believe there is something going on with that car which is generating more power, but they believe this is not being done legally, and if it is, they want to find out how it's being done, presumably to get it sorted for their cars. But let's go and have a look at the race news and see how the teams are faring in practice. Heading into practice then for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, it was Audi and McLaren that topped the time sheets in the Fridays and Saturday session. Daniel Ricciardo and Rees rounded off a brilliant Friday for McLaren, but Charles Leclerc hit back in FP3, and he believes that Audi are ready to take the fight to McLaren. But there are some bigger and more interesting things going on further down the field as both Red Bull and Porsche bring upgrades for this race. The first teams to bring some upgrades heading into this weekend. Honda have brought forward their planned engine upgrade for Red Bull to use here at Abu Dhabi. The plan was that Red Bull were going to have the engine upgrades at the next race in Bahrain, but Honda have brought it forwards to give them some more performance. Meanwhile, Porsche have made tweaks to their chassis in the hope that they can claw themselves off the bottom of the table and start looking up in this championship. But are those upgrades going to make a difference, and can anyone else stop what seems to be Audi versus McLaren at the front? Let's get straight into the race for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Hey, how's it going, guys? It is Foxydude here. Welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 Journey. We are here for round number 4. It is the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and the start of our Middle Eastern tour of circuits. We've obviously got Abu Dhabi coming up now. We've got the Bahrain Grand Prix next week, and then we've got the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix after that. So let's get this qualifying session underway then. As we go in towards the first part here of qualifying, we cross the start-finish line, and it's an okay lap, nothing special. It's always our banker, and then I ended up getting a warning for corner cutting there. I actually backed off from that lap because, quite frankly, it was, well, it was a corner cut warning. It didn't invalid the lap, but of course I didn't want to have that as my lap. Here is our final lap though. We're half a second up. We're currently in P16 at the moment. As we cross the finish line, it's only good enough for P13 on the grid. Here we go then, it is time for our Middle East session here for the F1 Journey. It is the Etihad Airways Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, round number 4 of the season. This is season number 8, and of course we have got 3 races in the desert to duel, and it is obviously starting with Abu Dhabi, then we've got Bahrain, and then the inaugural Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But we're focusing on Abu Dhabi. The 3.451 mile circuit provides us with lots of high-speed corners, plenty of slow-speed corners, and some long straights to get plenty of overtaking done. We've seen lots in the past, and hopefully we can see some more today here. Track temperature is going to be 45 degrees with the air temperature of 31 degrees, nice and warm as it always is in Abu Dhabi. And as you can see, we've got our new Aston Martin safety car ready to guide us away, and we've got the soft, medium and the hard compound tyres as per usual for all of these circuits. But let's have a look at the grid then and see how everybody lines up then. So starting things off, we have got Charles Leclerc on pole position by just 1/1000th of a second to Rees on the front of the grid. Next is the 2 Ferraris with Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton starting in P4. Sam qualifies in 5th place with Lando Norris next to him in 6th on the grid for Jaguar. Verstappen and then Van Dorn come up next with the Jaguar Red Bulls fighting it out for those 2 rows. George Russell qualifies in P9 and Nick de Vries qualifies in P10. Bear in mind the top 10 separated by less than half a second. Perez in 11th with Gasly starting in P12. They're also less than half a second behind. We were half a second behind on the dot, and we qualified in 13th with Ricciardo a disappointing 14th. Mick Schumacher qualifies in 15th for the Ford with Valtteri Bottas in P16. Callum Ilott is 17th for Ford with Nico Hulkenberg in 18th place for the second Porsche car, and it's an Aston Martin back row with Schwartzman out-qualifying Piastri for back row of the grid. Alright, so as you can see, we are on the screen here now, getting our strategy ready for this race, and the initial strategy, you can either do the medium and the hards, or it was giving us the option obviously of doing a 2-stop, soft, medium, medium. However, I was looking at the strategy and I've decided I'm going to go aggressive here, and I'm going to go medium, soft, soft, and give myself the best opportunity possible to try and make overtakes in the race. So I'm just balancing out these soft compound tyres. They only last for about 7 laps or so, 7 or 8 laps. So I've gone for medium, soft, soft. I could do a 1-stop strategy, no problem, but I fancy going aggressive and seeing if that pays off then. So on the grid then, 5 red lights starting on the medium compound tyres, and it's lights out, and away we go. It's a good start from us off the line there, starting from P13 on the grid. We've got one of the McLarens though, Daniel Ricciardo, going right up the inside there into turn 1, and he actually has a brilliant start there and makes the position then against us. We've managed to force out one of the Mercedes cars now as we go through in towards turn 2 now, down the straight here in towards the chicane. Of course, in the real life F1, there is no chicane here anymore, but of course, we're sticking with this old layout as we now go in towards the hairpin here. A chance to make up some places, and that's exactly what we do. We get back past Daniel Ricciardo, also then getting our way past the second Mercedes car there. I think that was Nick de Vries, and we're back behind our teammate Pierre Gasly now as we make our charge down the straight here. And as you can see, using some of our ERS, but then able to turn that off as we've got really good straight line speed here now. Going in towards the chicane here, getting super late on the brakes here, missing our braking point, but Gasly gets a bad run through there, and that from a mistake turns to an overtake. So we get up into 10th place now, and next up ahead of us is the first Red Bull car here of Stoffel Vandoorne. Of course, Red Bull bringing an engine upgrade into this weekend. Of course, Honda giving them a fresh new power unit with a little bit more grunt inside the back of that thing. So in the past few races, Red Bull have been very easy to overtake in a straight line. This time around, it's not going to be as simple to get past these two Red Bulls. It's going to take a little bit more for us to pass them. But, of course, we have got such a superior engine right now, towards the point where people are actually having a look at our engine and getting a little bit suspicious about it. Of course, that's all BS, but they can talk about it much they want there. In towards the last corner now. I took a little bit of a corner cut in the second to last corner. I'm not going to lie there, so apologies about that. We've crossed the start-finish line now, and it is currently P10 after starting in P13. That's 3 places gained, if you can do some quick maths. Let's have a look at the start then, see how everyone got on then. So Charles Leclerc from pole position gets a lovely start, and he stays in front of Reese as they go in towards the first corner. We're defending here from Daniel Ricciardo, who takes a wild line in towards turn 1. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to switch back on Ricciardo because his run into turn 1 was not actually that good. But as we now go through towards the end of the first sector, we actually ended up getting past him. This is on board with Lewis Hamilton now, and as you can see here, he actually gets a nice start compared to his teammate Sainz, and he's going to go down the inside here on Carlos, and he makes that move stick. Carlos then just tried to fight him on the exit of T1, but it doesn't make it stick, and now he's on the back of Reese and Charles Leclerc. And this is from Sam's perspective now, so as he gets off the line here, he's qualified in a good position, but unfortunately it's not a brilliant start. Lando Norris goes clean through down the inside there, as we see in front. That's how Hamilton got in front of Carlos Sainz. Sam, though, losing a place to one of the Jaguar drivers early on. Lap 2 of the Grand Prix now here. We're closing up to the back of Stoffel Vandoorne in the Red Bull. And once again now, having a little look in towards this hairpin. This time around, though, I didn't actually miss my braking point. We get a super exit, though, from the chicane there. And now we're in the slipstream here of that Red Bull. Gonna have to use some ERS here. No DRS yet. We're not on lap 3 of this Grand Prix, but we pull over to the left-hand side of the circuit and down towards the triple chicane here. We are going to force Vandoorne wide, and we are going to claim that position. Lovely overtake. That's P9 in our back pockets now in this Grand Prix. Next up the road is George Russell here, lap 4 of the race now. This is on board here, I believe, with Valtteri Bottas not in the Mercedes. He's fighting the Mercedes. He's in the Porsche as he goes now around the outside here of no, it's not. Is this Bottas? It is Bottas. He goes around the outside there of one of the Mercedes cars. I believe that was Nick de Vries that he's just passed there. So Bottas then making amends and passing the 2 Mercedes cars. Of course, Porsche as well have brought an upgrade here, as here comes de Vries trying to come back at him, but it doesn't work on that occasion there. He's absolutely fine. But of course, Valtteri in that upgraded Porsche, it's still not a quick car, but it's still doing them good at the moment. As we've got one of the cars here, that's a Ferrari there that's going slow in front of us. So a Ferrari with problems. Is that Carlos Sainz, or was that Lewis Hamilton that's got a problem? He's holding up though. The car's behind there, building just a little bit of a gap there, and it's Lewis Hamilton. It's Hamilton that's got a problem, and he's got a puncture on the left rear there. So disaster for Lewis Hamilton here at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He had a shocker at the Singapore Grand Prix thanks to contact with ourselves, and it's not getting any better for him. He's now got a puncture, and he's going to have to pit early on, just like he had to in Singapore, and that's really wrecked his race here at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It's a horrible start for him in this Ferrari. But for us now, lap 5 of the Grand Prix here, we're focusing on ourselves now, and we're catching up to George Russell, and we're going to brake nice and late here around the outside and pretty much do what we did with Gasly and get the super run through there. And surprisingly, outbraking myself into that chicane is proving to be a very genius idea. Who would have thought? But we're now up into 7th place in this Grand Prix, of course, inheriting the position thanks to Lewis Hamilton's problem here. We're back on board now with one of the Porsche cars. I believe this is Nico Hülkenberg now. Of course, Bottas has made his way through the 2 Mercedes cars. Now Hülkenberg is getting past the Mercedes, having an awful weekend so far. They are very far down the order. They're fighting with the back markers. As you can see now, though, we're back on board here with one of the Renaults. It's not me, though. It's Gasly here. He's now trying to get himself past Stoffel Vandoorne. Of course, we passed him earlier on in the race. Gasly yet to pass him. He's got Ricciardo right behind him, so he's got to be careful here that he doesn't lose out to Ricciardo. Daniel now goes towards the outside line here. Both of them have now overtaken Stoffel Vandoorne. Ricciardo, though, has got a better run here in towards the triple chicane. Gasly's going to have to get defensive here. Ricciardo, though, swoops through the 2 chicanes, gets to the outside line. Gasly gets a snap of oversteer. Now in towards the next left-hander. Ricciardo around the outside. That's a lovely double overtake there from the Australian. And he is through now in lap 7 of the Grand Prix here. Mercedes again, like I said before, having a shocking weekend. And it's not getting any better for De Vries here, because Mick Schumacher storms around the outside in towards the chicane, towards the hairpin here. That's a lovely, audacious move. But for De Vries, he will fight this one as Perez then starts to build a gap between himself and Nico Hülkenberg. But now all of a sudden De Vries is back past Mick Schumacher. But for Mick, he's going to have the DRS on this straight. So too is the Aston Martin here of Robert Schwartzman now. So Schwartzman might even fancy a run here at Schumacher. He doesn't make it stick though. Schwartzman settles back down behind the Ford car there. Lap 7 of the Grand Prix from our perspective now, going a little bit further up the road here. We're catching up now to the first of the Jaguars. I believe this is Max Verstappen, and we're going to try again our cheeky little outside move. There's a scrap going on up ahead here between Lando Norris and also Carlos Sainz here. So split perspective now. So on board with ourselves here, and then we've got the fight just up ahead here. Sam now fancies the run here on Carlos Sainz. Now Sainz tries to go to the outside line on Lando Norris. They're going to go 3 wide here into the triple chicane. We're just going to have to bide our time here, be very clever about this, and we are. So we get past Verstappen, which is a lovely move there. Now we'll try and get past Sainz, but Sainz doesn't give us much room there. We bounce over the curve a little bit and lose some time there, but crucially we didn't take any damage from that. But from all of that, actually Lando Norris has stayed ahead of everybody, so fair play to Lando. He's still in front now. Lap 8 of the Grand Prix here, and a lot of the cars now making their first stops in this Grand Prix. For one man that's staying out for a little bit longer is Verstappen, and he's still got good pace in that Jaguar, as you can see, because he's literally stalking the back of my car now as we go in towards the chicane here, trying to defend against the Jaguar. We get an awful run there through the chicane, going too deep into the first part of the apex, and now towards the hairpin here. There's no point in fighting this one as we now go onto the back straight here. Verstappen is going to get the DRS, and I've decided that there is no point in fighting this one. Yes, he is on the old soft compound tyres, but I guarantee he's going to pit at the end of this lap. There is no point in fighting it. So Verstappen goes through. He now takes P1 theoretically. Of course, drivers have already made their stops, and I'm now just going to settle myself in behind Verstappen. I'll follow him through the final sector here. We have got DRS, so technically we could fight him back on this straight, but it's just not worth it, to be honest. We just need to be much more clever about what we're doing here as Verstappen then makes that pass. Back on board here with Robert Schwartzman now, and he's currently under pressure from one of the Porsche cars here of Nico Hülkenberg, so he's going to have to be careful here that he doesn't lose out in terms of his fight with Nico Hülkenberg. But as you can see, he is just about staying ahead. Unfortunately, it's not. It's actually the Audi car of Charles Leclerc. I don't know why I mixed that up with one of the Porsche cars, but there we go. Sometimes you just make a cheeky little mistake in there. Sainz now is attacking Lando Norris in the Jaguar. He goes around the outside here. Sainz has stopped for the soft tyres. Lando Norris has actually stopped for the medium tyres there. So Sainz is going a different way, committing himself to a two-stop strategy, but with the softer tyre compound. As here we have Leclerc now going and dancing around the outside there of Mick Schumacher. That's a beautiful overtake there. And now Reese, one lap later, is now trying to get past that same old Mick Schumacher as well. Of course, Reese is currently the closest challenger to Charles Leclerc. Leclerc at the moment is having things his own way, but we do know that the McLaren is strong at Abu Dhabi, and he is continuing his pursuit of the Audi car there. Back on board now here with Max Verstappen, who's trying to find his way past George Russell. Russell is someone that's not going to give this one up without a fight. We have seen him struggle in that Audi car, but he is going to try it now as he go through towards the next DRS zone here. It is going to be Russell that gets the DRS now, and that is going to really benefit him later on in the stint here. And as you can see, he is through, and he is comfortably ahead of Verstappen and stays there for a little bit longer. In fact, he's actually pulling away from Verstappen. Max now is under a bit of pressure here as Sainz now breezes past the Jaguar. And I just get the feeling here that Verstappen has got a little bit of an issue because he was right on the back of Russell. There is Russell. Now Sainz is in front. Verstappen is already under pressure now from Lando Norris. You can see the time that he's lost to Sainz already there. So I get the feeling Verstappen is dealing with some car issues and that's not going to help him out. But for us now, we're back on board with ourselves. We're currently in the lead of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but we are yet to pit. As we come into the pits now, you can see going for the final corner there was Charles Leclerc and also Reese. So the two of them are currently in a league of their own. Crucially, Charles Leclerc seems to be in a league of his own with another driver. Of course, in the last race in Singapore, it was just a fight between me and Leclerc. In this race, it's a fight between Reese and Leclerc. So interesting to see Charles doing a lot of positive work for his team so far. But as we come out of the pits now, it is a nice and simple stop, but we are going to be joining some traffic. But we have now got the soft compound tyres, and crucially, we've got the soft compound tyres all the way to the end of the Grand Prix now. Not obviously this set, but we've got multiple sets to take us to the end here. Going nice and aggressive, maximum attack here. We've got brilliant straight line speed. We're not as quick in the corners, so by making extra pit stops, it just means that we can just utilise soft tyres and just blitz it. And it should pay into a dividend here. So we're on the back straight now here. We've got Daniel Ricciardo in front, Verstappen and then Lando Norris. We're going to go for the first overtake here, which is down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, shoving him a little bit wide there, a bit naughty. But that does allow Gasly to get through. So tactics being played there at our team. Now Gasly can follow him through, but Gasly here has got the DRS as well. Ricciardo though has got DRS, but Daniel here clearly using a bit more of his battery to stay in front here of Pierre Gasly as they go in towards the triple chicane now. It's going to be another fight between these two, but Ricciardo holds firm and stays in front here. Back on board with ourselves now. Verstappen here definitely has a problem because we just exit the corner beautifully. A little bit of contact made there, but Verstappen really struggling for straight line speed and just overall traction there as we lose the back end on the curb there. But that's now us up into 7th place in this Grand Prix. And to solidify Max Verstappen's car problems, here comes Ricciardo now down the inside into turn 1. An overtaking spot you don't really see down the inside of turn 1. Kind of, yeah, 100% solidifies. Fortunately for Max, you can already see, look at the pace that he's losing compared to the rest here. So we now blast on towards the back of his teammate here, Lando Norris now, having a look towards the inside potentially. Not quite. What we can do is set ourselves up here. I have to take a second bite at the steering there as I didn't quite get my entry right. And now we get on the run here. Open up the DRS here to attack Lando Norris. Move ourselves to the inside line. And it's a lovely overtake there. And that puts us up into 6th place. Next up the road is Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. I'm not sure who's in front of him, but we are making beautiful gains here. I believe it is the Audi of George Russell. Speaking of Carlos Sainz, lap 16 of the Grand Prix. We're now onto the back of him here. Now we've got DRS waiting for us, and open it goes there onto the back straight now. And that is, I believe, Sam then in the Red Bull just further ahead. So we're catching these guys for a podium now as we move over to the outside line here on Carlos Sainz. So around the outside we go. He actually sticks it in there, breaks a little bit later than what I expected, and we get the move done here. But crucially, Sainz is going to get the reverse DRS here. He's going to open it now on this straight here. You can see that he's using it. He is gaining, he's getting closer now. Goes to the outside line towards triple chicane. Break later though, down the inside, and we solidify that overtake there. But a little bit of a scare as Sainz got DRS then, but we're able to stay in front of him. Next up is George Russell in the Audi for 4th place in this Grand Prix. On board here with Lewis Hamilton, I believe this is, in the Ferrari, who's currently on a recovery mission. He's now getting himself past one of the Porsche cars here of Nico Hülkenberg around the outside. That converts to the inside line, and he is through. I don't think Hülkenberg has got DRS here on this straight. He does do, so that should help him in his defence against that Mercedes that's attacking him. But Nico Hülkenberg, unfortunately, is going backwards here. He's now got the Aston Martin of Robert Schwartzman and then the Audi of George Russell involved in this. So Russell must have made his stop then. In fact, this is when he's made his second stop. That was Sam just up ahead. So he's managed to avoid getting into Constantina with all of these lot here. Hulkenberg now is going to absolutely love this because he just gets a free run here past Robert Schwartzman, who passed him on the first straight. George Russell, though, is going to try and make a move here. Goes down the inside in towards the triple chicane. Bold move there, as we see that is Carlos Sainz trying to get past one of the Fords, but there's a little bit of a traffic jam forming now between these lot, and here comes a little bit of a scrap now that's going to continue onwards here. It's George Russell versus Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg getting in all sorts of action today as they go in towards the hotel section now. Russell takes the inside line in towards the corner, and George gets the position. Hülkenberg has to settle and take defeat on that one, as we see on board now here with Mick Schumacher, who's attacking Robert Schwartzman now down in towards the chicane. Lovely move there from Mick. He makes that one stick. That was, I really didn't mean for that to rhyme. I'm sorry if you found that cringy. Now, as you can see, unfortunately for Schwartzman, he gets a horrible run through this that chicane, and that's put him under pressure now from Ilott. But Ilott has to focus on what's behind him here, because Sainz now is trying to go for it. He's deploying his battery here, is Carlos Sainz. He's got fresher tyres than what Callum Ilott has, and a better car, and Sainz is through, so he's opportunistic there, is Carlito, and he is ahead of one of his rivals as we're on board here with Lando Norris now, who's trying to go around the outside of Ilott. This is one lap later to when Sainz did it, and that's exactly what he's done. But Ilott won't give this one up without a little bit of a battle here, as Carlos there in the foreground tries to attack Mick Schumacher. But as you can see, Lando Norris will not have DRS here because he overtook Callum Ilott in the detection zone, and Ilott breezes past Lando Norris then. So Norris, unfortunately, is not having it his own way here. So on board now with Carlos Sainz just ahead. Here he's got an opportunity to try and get past Schumacher. He's used the first DRS zone to get nice and close. Now he can use the second one to go for it, deploy the battery and make his move. Goes to the outside line here, and he is going to go around the outside and make that move stick. Norris in the background there, now trying to make his move on Callum Ilott after he failed the first time around. This time around he makes it stick. No real time lost there for him, and now all of a sudden he's got yet another blue and black car to deal with because he's got to pass Mick Schumacher in the second Ford car. And as you can see, that move was a lot simpler for Lando Norris. He's going to be hoping he gets more of them, as there's a little bit of attack there from Van Dorn, who tried to go down the inside of our teammate Gasly, but Gasly very aware of that move and stopped it from happening. Lap 21 of the Grand Prix now, and we're making our second and final stop in this Grand Prix to go on to another set of the soft compound tyres here. So we've made our first stint work nicely on the softs. Now we're going for it again on another dash to the finish line here. This is going to be it now as we make our move. Coming into the pits now, stopping for a set of the soft compound tyres. These ones are slightly used. I believe they've done one quali lap probably. The soft tyres that we were running just then were actually were brand spanking new. So we did 8 laps on those tyres. These tyres only need to do 7 laps now to the end, which is a little bit more manageable for us now as we go through to the exit here, just in front of George Russell in the second Audi car. So that's crucial for us that we get out in front of him. And now it means we've got a straight drag towards Sam now. We've rejoined in 4th place. 3rd is the Red Bull of Sam. So now we know what we're fighting with. Speaking of people that are fighting, it's the Aston Martin of Robert Schwartzman that's attacking probably Nico Hulkenberg there, and he didn't make it stick. Daniel Ricciardo, though, is a man on a mission. He's also got the soft compound tyres in this final stint here. Don't rule out Daniel Ricciardo just yet. Of course, Ricciardo started on the medium compound tyres. He's done medium, soft. We have done medium, soft here. Once again, though, the battle between Pierre Gasly and Stoffel Vandoorne reaches boiling point here as Vandoorne tries to go for it down the inside. Gasly covered that one off. Vandoorne now is going to have DRS here on the second straight to attack Gasly in towards the triple chicane now. Let's see if Vandoorne's got enough in hand to try and go for this one. He does have enough in hand there against Pierre Gasly. Beautiful overtake there from Stoffel, and he is ahead. But unfortunately for Stoffel, he's got to be careful because Gasly is going to come back at him. He held into his DRS now, and the Renault is much quicker in a straight line still than that Red Bull, and that's Lewis Hamilton there in the background that's recovering very nicely in this Grand Prix. He's going to the end on his medium tyres. He doesn't need to stop again, so he's actually fighting for some points here as Hamilton now is going to go for it on Van Dorn, makes that one stick. He can go for it again here on Pierre Gasly and make a lovely double overtake count potentially. Gasly makes a bit of contact with Lewis Hamilton, but Lewis goes around the outside there. That's a fantastic move from Lewis Hamilton, and he's gained himself 2 places in all of that. And now we can see the Mercedes here of Sergio Perez attacking Stoffel Vandoorne now. That's a really fast car, that Mercedes, in a straight line, surprisingly. It's been struggling a lot, but Vandoorne there does have DRS as well. The Mercedes on the soft compound tyres though, and there he goes, making that overtake stick, and that's the position for the Mercedes of Sergio Perez. Van Dorn drops down a position. Lap 26 of the Grand Prix, we're getting perilously close to the back of Sam in the Red Bull in the battle for 3rd place, but unfortunately there is another man that's joined the battle for P3 in this Grand Prix, and that man is Daniel Ricciardo. He is right behind me in this race now, and he's got DRS here, and we're running low on ERS here because you can see our red light is flashing, meaning we've got less than 20% battery. I have to cover off Ricciardo in towards the chicane here. Now, as you can see, we're going to go up the outside line for this first part, the inside line for the second phase, but Ricciardo is going to have DRS on this next straight here as he now opens the wing up. He's going to probably save this battery here, flies towards the inside line here. We'll try and cover it off, but there's not enough we can do despite the straight line speed we've got in our Renault. That McLaren is still rapid in a straight line, and he's got more battery than we've got. We've only got 8% left in this race. And with just 3 laps to go, Ricciardo is now the man to close after Sam. And as you can see here, lap 27 of the Grand Prix, he is in prime striking distance to attack the Red Bull. This is going to be bad news for Sam, who's been doing so well in this Grand Prix to hold off Daniel Ricciardo. And now, unfortunately for him, he is going to have to try and defend here, and he does himself a good favour of defending through that second part of the corner. And now here onto the next straight. Now here comes Daniel Ricciardo. Sam, if he's got anything left to deploy, he will deploy it now. Instead of Ricciardo goes to the outside line. Sam has the inside line to defend. Ricciardo taking the inside line towards the second part of the chicane. Sam, though, takes to the third part of the chicane. A little bit of contact is made there between the two of them. I tried to be sneaky and try and overtake one of them, but unfortunately for me, none of them actually yielded. They are continuing to go side by side, so I had to back out there and make sure that I didn't lose any ground in that fight, and also not take a corner cut penalty for that, as we now try and find a way to sneak on through. Once again, seeing if we can find a way through past Ricciardo, who's still not yielding to Sam. Side by side now into the second to last corner. Ricciardo stays in front, though, of ourselves. We're trying to find a way through here as we go on to the final lap here of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. There are 4 cars here that are fighting for a podium, because Russell now is joining the party here in this late stages of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Leclerc and Reese are too far in front for first and second place. It's who's going to get on the podium here as we go through towards the first part of this sector here now. Ricciardo setting himself up for an attack here on Sam on the final lap. We get a brilliant run, though, through the chicane now. Can we try anything on Ricciardo? Dive it down the inside in towards the hairpin. We've made the move on Daniel Ricciardo. That's a beautiful overtake just onto the final lap. Now we've got DRS here to set ourselves up against Sam. Got to be clever about this one. Now onto the straight. Sam deploying his battery. We're doing the same here. Russell now is attacking Ricciardo for 5th place in this Grand Prix. In towards the chicane now. Ricciardo holds off Russell. Russell's still trying to fight this one, but now we focus on ourselves. It's a mega exit from the chicane here. DRS is now enabled. Any bit of battery we've got left, we will use it to try and get 3rd in this Grand Prix, and we do just that. Onto the podium here at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Ricciardo repasses George Russell, and he's back up into 5th place. But Charles Leclerc in the other Audi car, he's been unchallenged here today. He wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and that's 4 different drivers winning the first 4 races. Reese gets his championship back on track with 2nd place here at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But for us, though, we're now going through the final portions here to try and get 3rd. But Sam now, side by side, second to last corner. This isn't over yet until we cross the start-finish line. Round the final corner we go. We're going to hold off against Sam. We're going to take 3rd place, and we're going to do it in fine style there. That was an awesome finish to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Really giving it everything to try and get that one podium, but it is Charles Leclerc that crosses the line and wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He finished 5.4 seconds clear of Reese in the end. It was them two out front on their own, but that Audi had more pace than what the McLaren had to offer, and he is the victor. We come across the line in P3 over 21 seconds behind in the end. There was a massive gap between Leclerc, Reese and the rest of the field. Sam finishes in 4th. That's his best result of the season so far for Red Bull. That'll be encouraging that he's managed to do that here at Abu Dhabi, of course with his upgrades coming into play there. He finishes just 3/10 behind us at the line, with Daniel Ricciardo finishing in 5th, 22.3 seconds behind in the end. George Russell then was 23 seconds behind in the end, as all of us were separated by just 1.3 seconds. Lando Norris finishes in 7th for Jaguar. A disappointing race weekend for Jaguar. Same with Ferrari. Sainz finishing in 8th. Lewis Hamilton, after having that puncture on lap 4, recovers to finish in P9 and set the fastest lap of the race in the process. And our teammate Pierre Gasly still continues to score points for the team. He picks up the 1 sole point. Of course, Lewis Hamilton got the fastest lap, which was a 1:29.585. In the Constructors' Championship now, which is completely false, second half of the table, Sergio Perez for the Mercedes finishes 11th, with Valtteri Bottas in P12 for Porsche. Max Verstappen at P13 for Jaguar. Of course, he did have car trouble, which definitely cost him in the race. Van Dorn fell off the cliff and finished in 14th place, with Nick de Vries a lonely P15 ahead of Callum Ilott, Nico Hulkenberg, Oscar Piastri, Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman. Surprisingly, not one car DNF'd from this Grand Prix. Taking a look at the Drivers' Championship now, and it is going to be Charles Leclerc who now takes the lead in the Drivers' Championship here. He is now on 70 points and is 6 points clear of us on 64 points in the championship. Lewis Hamilton stays in third in the championship. He's on 40 points, but already 30 points now behind Charles Leclerc, with Rees on 36 points. Lando Norris is fifth with 35 points, and Pierre Gasly is on 29 points. Verstappen and Ricciardo are currently tied on 27 points, with Sam bringing himself back into the top 10 in the championship with 20 points, and Carlos Sainz has 17 points to his name, with the next race being the Bahrain Grand Prix. Looking at the Constructors' Championship, then Renault still lead the Constructors' Championship by 13 points over Audi, who have 80 points to their name. And then it's closely contested between McLaren, Audi and Ferrari. McLaren have 63 points, Jaguar have got 62 points, and Ferrari have 57. Red Bull now move to 30 points in the Constructors' Championship, with Ford and Mercedes tied on 11 points each, and then Aston Martin and Porsche are yet to score points. But that is it for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Let's get into the post-race notebook and see what the teams and drivers had to say after this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc takes his first win of the season at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. After starting on pole position, he was able to get his car across the line ahead of Rees by 5.4 seconds. Leclerc stating that the Audi felt absolutely brilliant on track and was absolutely delighted to get his first win of the season. Rees, meanwhile, took P2 from McLaren and was happy to get his season on track and get his first podium of the season, with Tom battling back from 13th on the grid to finish in third, snatching a late podium from Sam and Daniel Ricciardo. Sam said he was frustrated to lose out on his P3 spot on the very last lap. After he managed to defend against Sam, he was unable to defend against Tom when he came along on the last lap to attack. But he did feel like the engine upgrades that Honda provided have definitely helped. This is promising, as Red Bull are planning more upgrades in the next few races, and hopefully it can bring them to the front. Daniel Ricciardo has admitted that he failed to get the job done. Daniel Ricciardo did a lot of the hard work in that race and also was on a brilliant comeback drive, starting from 14th on the grid. Ricciardo managed to do the tough section, which was getting past Tom. Once he'd done that, he had a straight run at Sam, but was unable to get the job done, as Tom re-overtook him, and that was game over. And Tom was happy with his race pace after starting in 13th place, recovering to P3. He felt like the race pace in the Renault is something truly special, and now it's all about hooking it up for qualifying, and once they do that, they're in a very strong position. But that is it for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We'll see you guys next time for the Bahrain Grand Prix, but for now, I'm out. Take care all.